More worrying stories are coming out about the debanking scandal in Britain, as we've now discovered a huge number of people have now been debanked over the last few years. Now, this is not really a new story, but the new figures that we have is extremely worrying. A few days ago, we did report that thousands of people have been debanked on an annual basis, but this new number is completely insane. More than 1 million bank accounts have now been shut down since 2019 by the woke establishment. Now, there are various reasons for this. Some of them are genuine in regards to the financial criminal activities, but a lot of them are also because they have they don't share the same values as the banks that we have. So they might post some mean tweets on social media, or they might be part of a political campaign, or they might be a relative to someone who's a politically exposed person. That's also completely unacceptable. It's not your fault if your father or your cousin is a political activist, for example. Also, there's nothing wrong with being a political activist in the first place, but those who are relatives to politicians or political people, that is completely insane that they're having their bank accounts cancelled, despite the recent backlash, despite having Alison Rose resigning, NatWest, Coots & Co. apologising, the BBC apologising. All this hasn't really changed the fundamentals yet. We have the government saying they're on top of it, and they say that every 10 minutes, we know that, but we're still waiting for proper action. We now have the government, Downing Street, who've come out to say we now have the new plans that we're going to introduce, new rules to give customers up to 90 days to challenge the bank account closures. So this is simply giving some power to people to just challenge it, to do a bit of an appeal process. It's not a full control or power to go against the banks. So if you want to individually challenge the banks properly, you have to pay a lot of money to very good lawyers to do that for you. Like what Nigel Farage, or I have someone like Nigel Farage on your side to go on his show or on his YouTube channel to talk about it. But not everybody has that power. This is why Nigel Farage has his new campaign and his new website to get people to join, so that if they have a problem, so I think he wants his website and the new movement to operate the same way as the free speech union that Toby Young has. So if you get cancelled based on free speech, you go to Toby Young and they obviously get in touch with others and campaign and lawyers and everybody else. They will challenge it on your behalf. But not everybody else can do that right now with banking or debanking. So James Daly, who's the founder of the campaign group Fairer Finance, said, "I think the legislation should actually go further and limit banks to closing accounts only when there is clear evidence of criminal activity." That's the whole thing. Right now, even a bit of indication that there could be a potential indication of money laundering, which, by the way, they use that as a big phrase. What that means is a lot of bank accounts who use cash. You withdraw cash, you pay in cash, you receive cash. They don't like that. So they basically use the powers that they have, saying, well, in the name of money laundering, we're going to shut you down. There are so many people who use cash still, and you're going to go against them because this is the push towards the cashless society that we're going to talk about later on the channel, because we have some very, very disturbing updates from Australia when it comes to the banking establishment. I'm going to cover that later. But this is exactly the whole situation. It's not just about inappropriate views politically. It's not just about being a relative to a politically exposed person, but it's also about those who use cash. So plumbers and a lot of people who go out there and they deal in cash, they're now getting into trouble because of that. Over 1 million bank accounts. That's a big number. Now, Jeremy Hunt, Chancellor, who himself was actually refused the bank account at Monzo because he's a politically exposed person. The man is Chancellor. He's not allowed to have a bank account. It's insane. He said, well, the reason I'm worried is because free speech is a fundamental right. And obviously there are an estimated 90,000 so-called politically exposed persons, including MPs, peers, judges, who are subject to stricter checks checked by banks because they are deemed to be at higher risk of exploiting their position for private gain. Well, okay, I'm very much against the political corruption, but if you're just simply talking about politicians making money, legal money, while we can criticize our politicians because we are the taxpayers, we are the electorate, But we don't see them as criminal activity. If there is an actual criminal activity, like money embezzlement or what's happened with the S&P, allegedly, that's different. That's actual criminal activity. But if a politician is just being greedy and just making money legally, we will still slam them as the voters, but it's not illegal. We're simply asking for a reform in the political system. It's not the job of the bank to say, well, we're going to shut you down now. What? It makes no sense. Alan Miller said, 1 million accounts closed in just 4 years? Wow. And banks are on track to smash the previous record of 343,500 accounts closed last year. Is it not a big story, Emily Maitlis? All the more reason cash continues and CBDC, the digital currencies, challenged. Privacy and autonomy is paramount. But yes, again, one issue is about the cashless society nonsense. One issue is just about free speech rights. And the other issue is simply about people's fundamental rights to have a bank account in a civilized country. So this is what obviously the issue that we were talking about. And again, part of this tweet that he mentions Emily Maitlis is important because Emily Maitlis has always been biased, obviously, part of the BBC and now the Global, the new podcast that she has. These guys have been expressing opinions against Nigel Farage, against Brexit and Brexiteers. Now they're very quiet when it comes to this issue becoming more widespread, essentially. So we got people tweeting saying, yeah, this is social credits starting. And when these people have been saying about social credit, warning about social credit system, the establishment keeps saying, well, this is just conspiracy theory. But we already have a lot of ideas that are basically an indication that is almost the same as social credit system. Now, for those who don't know, it's about what the Chinese Communist Party do in China. We're going to show you some examples of what they do in China in a second. But for example, Sadiq Khan's idea of road charging, pay per mile, is a perfect example, saying they will have cameras around London to check what sort of car you're driving, how many people are in your car, and where you're going and what time of the day. That's basically monitoring people's behavior. 15-minute neighborhoods, same thing, monitoring people's behavior. And now the digital currencies that could be programmed by the system, by the establishment, that is a great mechanism for a bad government in the future or tyrannical politicians to use it against us based on behavior. This is the whole problem. For example, in China, they call it the game of life, the social credit system, which expands the idea of a standard credit check to all aspects of life. Each citizen is assigned 1,000 points, monitored to judge their behavior and rated accordingly. So on the left, you have citizens who can gain points by, for example, donating blood or money, if they engage in charity work, if they praise the government on social media, or if they help the poor. On the other hand, they would lose points if they don't, for example, not visit their aging parents regularly, if they cheat in online games, if they're insincere apologies for crimes committed, and if they spread rumors on the internet. The last one is interesting because spreading rumors and fake news as a Chinese citizen, apparently it's bad unless you're doing it on behalf of the CCP. So this isn't really about morality because the CCP have their own, obviously all the bots on social media and all the people who have these farms, the computer farms, where their agents will just sit there and spread nonsense on social media against the West and against capitalists. All right, so it's okay to do that. It's literally what happened 1400 years ago, when after Muhammad, and the whole text of that tribe in the Arab world said, "Don't do bad things unless you're doing it against someone who's not a Muslim." Then you can't do it. It's so bad. The hypocrisy is completely nonsensical. But they do it because it's China. It's a tyrannical country. Why should we follow what they're doing? Why are we allowing our political establishment to keep getting away with these very rogue ideas and selling it to us as it's in the national interest, it's for your own public safety? Don't worry, we're not China. We just really care about democracy. Yeah, sure you do. Absolutely. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.